The attorney for Oklahoma City bombing suspect Timothy McVeigh says body parts found in the rubble of the federal building raise new questions about the case. He claims the discovery may be the remains of what he calls the real bomber. Gary Tuckman has our report.
The Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office revealed Monday that a week after the implosion of the Oklahoma City Federal Building, recovery workers discovered a severed leg and foot of a bombing victim. On the foot, a military-style boot. Now, more than 2 months later, the leg still has not been matched to any of the known victims. But this information was only released after accused bomber Timothy McVeigh's attorney found out about the leg and raised the possibility it belonged to someone he refers to as a real bomber who died in the blast.
The government's position has always been my client drove the truck and my client was alone. Well, this doesn't necessarily disprove those, but it certainly raises troubling questions, and I dare say that a large number of the members of the public and press will be surprised to know that this information has been withheld.
The medical examiner's office says that is an unfair charge. Officials say the leg is among many unidentified body parts recovered from the Murrah building that are still being identified. Among rescue officials, there is strong skepticism the leg belongs to someone involved in the bombing plot.
You know, I don't think that this is anything other than just, you know, another body part that perhaps was damaged in the bombing. As far as speculating on this as another person or anything, there's nothing at this point to lead us to believe that.
Rescue workers believe nothing should be read into a body part not being identified with a known victim because of the state of many of the victims' bodies.
I don't find anything very odd about it. You know, we just all hope that identity can be made so that family member or whomever it is can know that, that a part of their loved one has been found.
The medical examiner's office says the leg specimen reveals the individual to be light-skinned, dark-haired, probably less than 30 years of age, and a 75% probability of being male. A grand jury is expected to indict Timothy McVeigh and fellow suspect Terry Nichols on federal terrorism charges as early as Wednesday or Thursday. But McVeigh's attorney is now asking for the indictment to be delayed so the leg matter can be investigated. Gary Tuckman, CNN, Oklahoma City.
Susan Smith's attorney is taking steps toward a possible appeal of her murder conviction and life sentence. Smith was convicted last month of drowning her 2 young sons. Her attorney yesterday filed the paperwork necessary to preserve her right to appeal. But defense attorney David Bruck says that doesn't mean she will appeal. Bruck says she's still considering her options. Smith will be eligible for parole and 30 years. Well, David Smith appeared last night on CNN's Larry King Live. He said he wasn't surprised the jury gave his ex-wife a life sentence rather than the death penalty. He also said an abusive childhood didn't excuse her action.
I know Susan was molested. I know her father committed suicide when she was young. I know she, you know, had a marriage broke up. But that happens to people every day. And they're not out there murdering their children. That's no reason to murder your children because of what happened in her past. She had no right whatsoever to do what she did.
Smith said he never doubted his wife's story about the children being abducted until the crime was discovered.
Coming up to 18 minutes past the hour. The focus is on the environment as President Clinton travels to Baltimore later today. He's scheduled to present his plan to prevent Congress, or try to, from lifting some environmental regulations. For a preview, we go to correspondent Claire Shipman at the White House. Morning, Claire.
Good morning, Bob. The president will visit a park in Baltimore today where he'll take Republicans to task for attempting to roll back the nation's clean air and water laws. He's expected to issue at least one executive order which will make it more difficult for lawmakers to roll back some environmental regulations. Essentially, this executive order will help to ensure that federal contractors aren't able to evade current rules that require them to notify communities about toxic emissions. Republicans are attempting to repeal that so-called community right to know legislation. I'm sure you've noticed the president has been attempting to make more use of his executive privileges lately, both in an attempt to show leadership and in an effort to get around the Republican-controlled Congress. But in an interview with National Public Radio yesterday, Mr. Clinton made clear he's not going to avoid direct battle either, especially on crucial budget issues. He said he will make good on his veto threats of appropriations bills that contain measures he doesn't like, even if it means risking government shutdown.
If the government gets shut down, it'll be their responsibility. They will have to vote or not vote to lift the debt ceiling. They will have to vote or not vote for continuing resolutions to let this government go on. I will have no role in that. That is their responsibility. My responsibility was fulfilled when I offered them an alternative balanced budget and a willingness to discuss it. So far, none of them have been willing to discuss anything. I will not be blackmailed into selling the American people's future down the drain to avoid a train wreck.
And expect more tough words on smoking. The president says he's looking at a tough and mandatory style program to help curb teenage smoking. Now, aides caution no final decision has been made, but this would suggest that voluntary measures taken by the tobacco industry won't be enough. The president may bring up the issue as early as tomorrow in the heart of tobacco country when he addresses a Baptist convention in North Carolina. I'm Claire Shipman reporting live from the White House.
Oregon Senator Bob Packwood is paraphrasing Mark Twain, saying rumors of his resignation are greatly exaggerated. Packwood's in the midst of a lengthy ethics committee inquiry into sexual misconduct charges. 19 women in all have accused the senator of various levels of sexual harassment, from kissing and grabbing to proposing sex. Packwood, who is now chairman of the powerful Senate Finance Committee, denies the allegations. And a colleague, Senator Alan Simpson, a Wyoming Republican, has written to his colleagues implying that the charges are too old to be considered, going back further than any known statute of limitations.
Senator Bob Dole has 32 other senators signed up for his welfare reform bill, but the verbal fireworks continue. Democrats insist that a work requirement without a plan for child care punishes children. The Republican majority says the issue is restoring personal responsibility.
Not only have we made people more dependent, not only have we taken away their initiative and their pride and denied them access to the American dream, but we've affected their very pride in themselves and their spirit. Because as people have turned more and more to government to take care of them, to indemnify their every mistake, they have, by their very nature, turned away from self-reliance, turned away from their family and from their faith.
Senator Dole says he's rewritten much of the bill so it will pass muster with Senate conservatives.
Ahead on Early Edition for this Tuesday, shifting winds are fanning wildfires in the dry West.
We'll have the latest from Nevada and California, but first, here's a check of today's forecast.